Yeah, I'm not. I'm trying to just. I don't know. I'm. Part of me was watching his acceptance speech, and I'm just trying to be at peace with it. I'm just trying to see the positive side of it. But
Well, if you're a baby coming down a canal, it's pretty hard to focus on the positive. When they stick that tube in your head and suck your brains out while you're still alive. It's the most horrible thing that I've ever heard of in my life. It's worse than any monster on TV.
Well, what can we do about it? I mean,
well, I don't know. I think
pray.
Americans have been fighting this for, like I say, for 36 years. And it's no wonder, that God, once we reach that 40-year limit, from 72 to 2012, it's no wonder God wants to come back soon and stop this horrible, horrible, monstrous, mortal sin that has been the law. It's actually the law. You see, that's the outrage. It's one thing if you sin, and you're doing the wrong thing, and the country doesn't support you in it. But it's another thing if the nation actually protects your right, or what you perceive as your right, to kill the unborn or the nearly born. It's incredible, George. And there is, on the one hand, there really is no bright side to this, and it will mean the end of our nation. It does mean the end. Because in the Bible, the Lord makes it clear to that generation that wandered in the desert for 40 years. And he said to them, you will never enter into my rest. You will never go into the Holy Land. You will not set one foot in there. You will all die, and then I'll keep my promise to another generation. And if he was that way with Israel, he's going to be at least that way with us too. And that means that since we have made the law of the Antichrist law of the land for 36 years, we got 4 years to change it. And before he decides to obliterate us.
Well, now that Obama is in office, that particular law isn't going to be changed.
Well, I agree with you, and that means for the first time in my life, I have to really consider, maybe either leaving the country if God shows me a way to do that. Hopefully, maybe the Lord will see fit to give me a heart attack or a stroke or something, so I won't have to witness the demise of my country any more than I have already seen.
Wow.
I know. I don't know. I just want to be patient and pray and see how things unfold, and wait for an opportunity to do something, either for myself or my friends or family. Try to recommend to them what to do. But we're living in the most challenging times ever in the world's history, and I suppose we should look at that as a privilege. That God has enough trust in us to get through these trials and tribulations, because he wouldn't just choose anybody for that. They would have to be the best Christians ever to go through this era, because it's more dastardly than any previous era in the history of mankind. And I'm telling you that with total confidence. I mean, that's not just my opinion. That's the opinion of all the great thinkers and writers and,
Yeah, I was watching on I think it was CNN, and they said who are the biggest losers with Obama winning, and at the top were the evangelical Christians. They were the top losers in the whole election process.
Yeah, well, the second group is definitely practicing Catholics.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying evangelical Christians, because they're used to having so much political power.
Yeah, they have been. They've found a voice, in our nation, and what's really sad for them, if you want to know the truth, is that there really isn't a rapture. They've totally misunderstood that one word in one letter of St. Paul. You know, that's just, they totally took it out of context and blew up this whole idea that somehow, you know, they're going to miss trials and tribulations. And the fact is, they're not going to miss it. They're going to be, you know, front and center, just like the Catholics. No, we're all, you know, the really big losers are the unborn.
Wow.
They're the biggest losers. You know, they're going to lose. I mean, blood. I mean, we're talking about innocent blood here, points, and
they picked the wrong Republican candidate. If they would have picked Ron Paul, that would have given them a shot.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, I know that. I believe you too. McCain was a horrible campaigner. I don't think he knew what he was doing.
I mean, McCain's acceptance speech, it almost gave me the feeling that it was prearranged, that he knew Obama was going to win, and it was just so perfectly, so concessionary in its tone that it almost seemed like it was pre-planned, you know, that he knew Obama was going to win, and, you know, it just...
Well, he was certainly prepared for that, because the polls had been saying that although he was closing...
I know, but something tells me, I've been following this very closely, something tells me McCain knew he was going to lose from the moment he accepted the Republican nomination. Meaning, he was a pawn, not a pawn, but he was a player in this chess game. I really feel that.
Yeah, well, you're probably right, because truthfully, the whole thing really is a game. We don't even know where Obama was born.
I mean, think about it this way. I mean, McCain couldn't even touch Ron Paul with the fundraising, you know, pre-Republican nomination. I mean, Ron Paul was out fundraising him 10, 20 times, but yet somehow magically McCain still wins the nomination and gets all the media coverage, gets like 1,000 times more corporate media coverage than Ron Paul.
Oh yeah, he's one of the players, all right, you got that true. He was the one that really killed our POWMIA movement by being the kind of the what would you call it, a token POW that came back. He was the token POW that said all the prisoners were home too. He never backed up the other families whose men did not come home. And those were in the thousands. And he never backed us up. He always insisted that our government brought everybody home back in 1977. Hell, the Russians admitted, always, you know, practically admitted they still had my dad in 91, at the end of 91. And they even said, you know, when Yeltsin took office, even in 92, he said, well, we just might have him. We're going to look for him. The Russians said that.
Wow.
And, too, that's almost, 20 years later, certainly 15 years later, after McCain came home, the Russians say, gee, we might have him. And then again, we might not, but we're going to look for him and see what we can find. And what they were waiting for was our government to offer, you know, a little bit of incentive to bring him home, to let him free. And of course, our government, by that time, was already being run by George Bush Sr., and George Bush Sr., you know, was our sworn enemy.